let's go ahead and get started.
Okay.
So thank you everyone for joining us today. We're going to go ahead and get started. We got quite a few participants here. So if you can, check out our new logo. I'm going to start trying to find ways to post it on our site. It's down here in the corner. So we can start branding ourselves for the Orlando Alteryx user group, maybe some t-shirts here in the near future. Stay tuned for those. We do have some quick announcements that we're going to go through, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the content today. So we had mentioned the Alteryx for Good. We are going to be doing that next month, and I think it's going to be at the Neil, remind me where it's at.
In Kids the World and
yeah, Give Kids the
Give
World.
Kids the World. Yeah.
So we're actually going to try the weekend this time. That seems to be what the response was. So that'll either be the 14th, 15th, or the 21st, 22nd. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and post your name on the community page, and we'll reach out to you. Or you can email us directly or here in the chat. So that's that portion. So we have already, again, picked where we're going to be doing that. And then we'll just be looking for everyone to sign up if you are interested. What we did last year is we actually did some breakfasts. You can check out some of those pictures on our community page. And then we did also want to give you a heads up. Next month will be person user group, and we do have a sponsor as well. So Snowflake will be sponsoring for us, and that's going to be Thursday the 19th, 4:30 to 7:30. And let me go ahead and give you guys the link there, so you can RSVP. Mark, if you're down in the area, we would love to see you. I know you're traveling the world right now, so they're going to have free growlers there, actually, and some appetizers and some drinks. And then we do have the CTO of Bring Hub coming, and he's going to kind of explain his story and path with data. And then we'll go into some group questions with him and do our traditional Q&A if you guys have any of that. And it should just be a fun time of networking and some drinks. So fights and beer.
Yes. So I want to say something. So the last one was very successful there in 1010. That's where we're going back there. We have a very good crowd, and everybody got great feedback. So if you were never, if you want to go back to that, or like if you feel like you wanted to go that time and you couldn't do it, I mean, this is a great opportunity. It's great networking, great place, and hope to see you there. Just reserve right now. Yeah.
And I think they did actually rent out the place this time too. So
yes,
we'll have the full space. So, all right. And then stay tuned for. You have the link now to connect to that, and then if you have any other questions in the interim, please feel free to email us directly or direct message through the community page. And then, how many of you actually know how to do that? So you can unmute yourself. Do you know how to reach out to someone directly on the community? This is kind of a little bit of a segue, but it's always nice to know how to do this. Email, do you know how?
In the community?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Direct message people?
I believe so. I mean, I think you just find it, where is that user, and just you can send something like in a message or something, right? Yeah. Is that the right way? I think I did it once.
Let me see if I can show you. Okay, so if you're here on the main page, you can just kind of click here and then do the message.
Just the message, yeah.
there's a messages in here, and then literally, if you go in here, you can send it to, so you just use whatever their name is.
Maybe we saw the phone part, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
So there's your meal. Meal, man, you need a picture.
I know.
Just set up. So that's the way that you can send direct messages.
I'm gonna put my cat there.
Individually. So please feel free to reach out to us that way too. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so let's keep going. Okay, so we do have some tips and tricks we'd like to go over, and that's from 2018.1. So if you haven't checked it out already, it was available at the beginning of the month. So I know that they've been talking a lot about the new licensing structure, which makes it easier to work with Alteryx in terms of the licensing, but I also wanted to go over some of the additional features that I thought were really exciting. Most of these center around the HTML5 upgrades, so that's more interface upgrades. So the first one is actually the new filter tool. And if you can't see this really well, we will actually be working in 2018.1 today for the March Madness section and also for the Olympics section. So the new filter tool, so the new filter tool kind of dives into that. Let's see here. There we go. And then we also have the new Excel tool. So within these, the options that they have available switch to where it's the new interface design. So for the new Excel input, you go in and then it acts more like an interactive interface than the traditional input tool that you have, where it has that small drop-down box over here in this section.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final one that we actually have to show is the new tool container. So let's open up the new workflow and kind of show those off a little better. Okay, so we do have the new input tool here. You can go here, and then you have these new drop downs. You can do an import of the list section. See if I can find one with some other sheets here. So this is actually probably my favorite part. You can actually select a table that if you set up an actual table in Excel, you can now just pull that individual option. So that's what I would recommend looking at here. So let's see, you can pull that in, see, voila. So it just pulled that specific one, and then you can then connect to the new formula tool, and this is probably the most exciting part for me, like the crowd goes wild. So you can connect here, and let's grab something with a, I think this did have one, with a date. And you can see it's even going back to the original one, right? Let's see if I have anything in here with a date. There we go. So we have some dates in here. So with the dates, this is awesome. So it has today dynamic. These formulas are already set up. You can see it changing down here on the bottom, tomorrow, yesterday, and then it filters only date data. Those are going to definitely be some opportunities to be interactive. And then you have additional for the text, and then now with the custom formula, it's going to have that autocomplete. It is actually interesting that if you guys are interested in helping me when I'm looking at this, I do want to see in the future some of maybe the first row of data, the example of the true and the false, being able to toggle that would be really nice. And then the final piece, the new tool container. So the reason why I'm excited about this is traditionally you'd have to go over here and disable this. So depending on if you're all the way across the screen or what you're doing, you could have a bunch of containers that you're working on. They actually embedded the enable disable right here on the container itself. So you can minimize with the section on the right and then enable disable here on the left. Okay. So now let's get back to the presentation here.
Does anybody have any questions about tips and tricks? I mean, this is a great opportunity. I mean, if you want to ask anything to Andrew about this tips and tricks, I mean. Huh?
Yeah. So, all right, no questions. Emil, you have any questions?
So if the one that says dynamic today or tomorrow, how will you use that, and what will be beneficial for somebody to, when they're creating a workflow, maybe they wanted to get a head start? So I will help you. How will that help you?
Great question. So let's say, for instance, I'm getting new data every day, and I just want to do an incremental update.
Oh, okay.
That's probably the most common use. Is incremental updates. So I may only want yesterday's data. I actually don't know how you would use tomorrow's data.
Okay.
Unless you were doing some predictive analysis, you only wanted to filter that out. Let's say, for instance, my predictions are pretty good 24 hours out, but once it gets beyond that, they get a little fuzzy. So I may only want to extract that information. And then the same could be true with today, right? I could only be concerned about today's data. So this could also be used for shrinking down a data source if I am looking to export a one-day dashboard because of the sheer amount of data. And let's say I want a dashboard that's a little more responsive, and then I want one that has all the historical information. So I can go into one tab and maybe see, okay, here's what's going on today. I need to dig a little deeper to see what's going on historically with this product or maybe this system for our company. Let's go ahead and let's get back to the next one here. Okay, and now for some March Madness. And this guy actually is Elijah Thompson from the Clemson Tigers, and he's pretty awesome. He got a three-pointer shot against Auburn. So I'm always looking for some good data, and I wish I could walk around the office like that with my glasses on. I just got the orange ones from the Tableau conference last year. You guys can check me out at 1010 for that one. And then I do see a couple questions in regards to the post on the community or the next user group. I'll throw that up right after this user group. You can check out the chat window right now for the 1010 user group coming up in April, and then we'll also be doing some posts in social media in regards to some of the topics up there. So now we're going to dive into the March Madness section, and what we want to talk about for that one is a little bit of what it means to take insights to the next level. And so obviously in basketball you have some giveaways at the free throw line, right? So there's some easy things that you can do to kind of spice up the data that you're giving to either your visualization team or if you're delivering your products directly to the clients themselves. So some of the ones that we'll be talking about today are text. So with text, you can manipulate the text pretty easily within Alteryx in terms of editing or beautification purposes. I'm not talking about natural language processing. We won't be doing any of that here today, but this is just some simple editing. So when it does go on the dashboard, it looks clean. Summaries. So you can aggregate layers. Let's say, for instance, in basketball, I want to know how many points the team scored for the entire season. So I can aggregate those if I have player level information, or the opposite could be true, right? I can take that team level data and maybe they want to drill down to the player level. So what I want to do is show how you can take an existing dashboard and go throughout these different layers. So geography is another good example of things that you can do. So adding geographical factors, let's say for instance I have, for all of these colleges, I have states. I can add information on there. And then believe it or not, hyperlinks is actually a good one. So within the data set, you may be able to scrape the web. Probably the easiest example of this that I always go back to is stocks, because the stocks like on Google are pretty easy. Literally, you just take the ticker of the one that you're looking for. You may adjust the web query, so you're kind of building that out for whoever the visualization person is, and then that can kind of give them an edge to develop something cool as well. So then there are some harder things that you can do as well. Predictive, you can do some add a model output to your data set. You can do the polygons, adding shape files, or even turn your data set into an app to make it responsive to what the individual users want. So when you're looking at these different options, you can take the Google approach. So with Google, they actually call these roof shots. And what roof shots are they're small incremental gains. So you can integrate some of these things into the data set to improve them. And then you also have moonshots, right, which is what we're more commonly used to hearing. So the moonshots are bigger projects which the gains can be exponential, but they take a larger amount of resources to accomplish. So let's dive in, and what we're actually going to do today is take a look at an existing dashboard. This is within Tableau. So within Tableau, we have this one from Jay Lewis, and this is actually a really good dashboard. So there's not much in terms of cleanup that we're going to be able to dissect, but what I do want to show is the things that are available for cleanup are easy to accomplish. So is there anything you guys can pick out? Feel free to unmute yourself, or if you want to throw it in the chat, that could be improved even just right here on this individual sheet.
Right. So Andrew, I think the filters and the groupings of those filters could be improved somehow. on the right side where it says project and filter region or then the seed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's kind of take a look at those. I mean, when you're looking at the filters, I mean, you can see that they're kind of compressed. So it's not as clean as it could look. There's some case sensitivity that's missing there. So this is a perfect opportunity to do that text improvement that we talked about briefly. That's kind of what I want to dive into is even as a person who is conducting some of the data cleanliness, if you are not developing the dashboard yourself, you still can help implement some of these changes, literally just by taking a look at the end product. So let's dive into that here, and I can show you what that's going to look like. So let's look at the rest of this dashboard here real quick. And then again, real quick, if you guys haven't signed up for it yet, please check the chat window. You can go ahead and sign up for the Bites and Brew next month. All right, so this is the dashboard available on Tableau Public. And within this dashboard, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Within this dashboard, so you have that piece that we had noticed here. Then you also have the individual teams, right? So the team names are here as well. And then like you can see New Mexico, and then I think that's supposed to be state. You could use a little bit of cleanup. Otherwise, I mean, we have everybody's name here. All the other portions are pretty consistent. So you have the players' names here. So it has that drill down that we talked about already. So this already has quite a few elements that have been improved. But the text is definitely one thing that you're noticing here. And then the other could be the geography, right? So if you're looking at those components and trying to improve the dashboard, then what you want to do is you actually want to take the dashboard, which looks like this in Tableau, and you may already have the data source if this is an internal project within your company, or if this is external and you're looking to improve your skills. You can open up these Tableau workbooks, even using Tableau Public if you want. And the same is true for Click, and you can actually extract the data from these individual projects. So let's dive into one of these sheets here so we can go and access it. So you can see the data source here.
Go to,
there we go.
Yeah.
And then here's where you conduct the extract if you're trying to compress it, but then you can also just export to CSV. So we've already extracted these to CSV to save a little bit of time here. And when you do that, okay.
So what you want to do is you're trying to clean and enhance what you already have, correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. So we already have this dashboard with this data source, which looks like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then does anybody, let me go ahead and post that link for the dashboard. In case you are interested and you have a Tableau license. You can kind of check out this dashboard and see what data we're playing with independently. So within here, you can see that as you're going through this data, it has some game numbers, has a number of records, you do have that predictive layer which is embedded in here, right? So they've already done some of the moonshot aspects that we're looking for. Then you have the team names in here, and even a couple different date formats, right? So the one aspect that you do have missing here is maybe some of the geographical components, and then also some of the name cleanup. So let's kind of go through this and see what are some of the different ways that you can adjust this data. And we'll dive into some tools and some different options that are available to you if you are looking to clean up data. So for this one in particular, what our goal was is we wanted to try and join a set of data that we have. So this one is coming from the dashboard, the Python series that we saw, right? And then actually what we looked for, and you can commonly find these on Cable's website, is you can actually see that there are tons of competitions here, and you have some free data that you can use. And so in this instance, we were looking, okay, do we have some teams that are available, and then can we combine it with some of these additional drill down options, or can we even add the geographical factors? So to start with that, what we needed to do was use the key, which is here, to combine with the rest of the information, and you have the team names here. And now obviously we know that team names can be pretty difficult to, or names in general can be pretty difficult to reconcile. So there are a couple options here. You can use the data cleansing tool. And one of the most common things that you'll find with combining names is actually because this is a case-sensitive join in here on the join tool, and you can't adjust that, then the best thing to do is adjust it beforehand. So there's a couple options. You can actually use the data cleansing tool to accomplish that, and then all you have to do is select all the individual fields that you're looking for, and you can modify the case here. So I increase them to all uppercase. And then another option is actually within the formula tool. And you can see here that you can adjust it to title case. You can also do lowercase, which you can do here as well. So let's say, for instance, if we didn't have this tool, normally you'll see around like a 60 to 70% join. But whenever we run this, so you can see that there's 4,700 records here. So without something like that, I mean, that literally made a 200 record difference. And you may be wondering why, oh man, I'm losing so many records all the time, and that could literally be what it is. It's just a case sensitivity. So within the formula tool, those formulas again are the title case, uppercase, and then the lowercase formulas. Then the other thing that we started to notice when we went through these different fields was actually that state thing that I had mentioned. So state is abbreviated in the new set that we have, and it's also in the old. They've abbreviated it, but for some reason they weren't combining depending on how the abbreviation was set up. So I went ahead and standardized that here, and then that actually made a pretty big difference as well. So if you want that, I can show you guys. So you can see 840 records didn't join. So that made another 300 record improvement.
So Andrew, I wanted to say one of the advantages of doing this here in Alteryx is, like, if you have, let's say that you have Tableau developers or Click developers, right? And now you're giving them, all of them, the same data source. Now all of them have all this correction, so they don't have to do it on Click or in Tableau. And then usually what we have found is that creates, makes the dashboard faster. So moving some of this, things that, they're so simple, makes that Tableau or Click dashboard faster. And also everybody can share the same data source, right? And everybody will have this already done, so they don't have to do it, so they can create their dashboard faster too. So this, creating all these different things in Alteryx will make everybody's life easier in the long term. So
then the other thing that you have is actually fixing fields for display purposes. So we saw those different displays for the filters. Let's go back to that. The dashboard. So you can see that these displays, it's all showing lowercase, right? So you don't have any proper names here, and then that's also here. You have the same issue. So what we want to do is, how can we adjust those? So there are a couple different options. You can use a formula tool and do what's called title case. So title case, camel case is another name for it. What it does is it capitalizes the first letter for every word. And you can adjust it here in an individual formula if you like, or you can even do that within multi-field formula tool. So the way that this is accomplished is you go in here and you select what type of field. So in this instance, this will show you all the text fields, right? So you can see all the text fields in here, and for these I wanted to edit all the team names. So I went through, select team name there. I also did ESPN team names, which you can check what the person is using by going into these dashboards and checking, hey, what components are actually critical to you. So what I see this ESPN bracket in quite a few of these. So I want to go in and edit that name specifically. That way it adjusts all these, and the visualization person doesn't even have to accommodate any of those changes. So again, multi-field formula tool, and then also the individual formula tool. And if you are concerned about addressing some of these tools and testing them out, if you don't see something within the tool palette that has a help, some of our amazing aces, such as Mark from Marquee Crew, helps create some of these. And this is the Tool Mastery Index. And let me go ahead and post that in the chat as well. So if you are looking for some ways to learn new tools, you can kind of dive into each one of these. And what that'll allow you to do is to check out these individual tools. So let's go to date time now. And it gives some pretty advanced examples on how this tool can be used. And then they even give you a example workflow, so you can kind of dig in and see how they accomplish their different objectives using these tools. And there's tons of them, as you can see. So they go through pretty much all the major groups. This one's my favorite, by the way. And then, yeah, even the laboratory tool. So they do update this pretty frequently. So I would definitely check that out if you are looking for some tool-specific applications and you don't find it by just doing the open example, which will give you a pretty broad range of how formulas or other tools can be accomplished. And then, as always, if you are interested, you can even check it out here on the side, which would be just typing in Tool Mastery. And that should search the community for you, and see you have the Tool Mastery Index, which I shared with you guys, and then also each of the individual tools. And that will just hyperlink you right into the page there on the community. put it back in here. Do you guys have any questions about the tool mastery for the formulas? Neil, you got anything today?
No.
Okay.
No. But yeah, if anybody have any questions.
Yeah, so we won't dive too much into how those dashboards and stuff will be adjusted. Basically, all you would do is you would swap out the data source. But a lot of those changes are as simple as what we're talking about. So here's another example of that. So team ID with this team ID here, what we noticed beforehand is there's a lot of these with the hyphen. Let's zoom into that a little bit. And make sure you guys are using the statistics and stuff here on the left. This can be amazing, especially when you're helping people troubleshoot. So you can see it's only showing you the first 20. And then you even have the longest value here, so you can see that it's being concatenated. And that may be for different reasons, especially when you're doing predictive models. So here on this last column, find a couple of records here. Let's post there. Yeah, so you can see here there's a nice hyphen. You can actually get rid of that and then substitute it with a space. So you can see that there's a space there now, and then you're good to go. So then you can do the title case and stuff after that, which will then do those adjustments on, in this case, let's say we want it to be the team ID. Yeah, so you can see it's editing that right there. All right. So now let's segue into the next section, which will be the Olympics.
Any questions?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about this awesome bracket. So I did mention the predictive pieces. This is an amazing example of combining Alteryx, Data Robot, and Tableau. We actually don't have Data Robot at Adventus, but this is kind of what it looks like. So what they're doing is they're actually generating a bracket from scratch here.
Wow.
Here. And literally this is using Data Robot to process the models, and individually they take each of these scores and then run some predictive models to create each individual bracket. And it swaps it out pretty much every time. So the first couple brackets take a couple minutes to run, and then from there it will dive in and go a little deeper. And I'll share that link with you guys as well. So you can't see too much on the back end for this example in particular, but it is good to see what those final results could look like if you are looking for something a little more advanced. See, so you can see it generating, and then it kicks off to the next one, and then starts off that chained approach to filling in each of these brackets. So now let's segue off to the next one. So the Winter Olympics, some games are amazing. I don't know how many of you guys watched the final game for the women's hockey team. They haven't won in, I think it's been like 4 or 5 Winter Olympics against Canada, and they finally did it this year in like triple overtime. It was an insane game. But when you're looking at Olympic athletes, how do they take things to the next level? So a lot of their easy games, or you can be consistent and do the same things over and over again. So that would be those roof shots, right? You can make sure everything's clean. You can provide the summaries, the drill downs, add some geographical factors or the hyperlinks. And then some harder games could be those predictive pieces, adding polygons, or creating apps. So there is another app that I'll add for March Madness that we have as well. So you can check out the community page probably around 4 o'clock, and that will we'll share that with you as well. And that's from Alteryx. Someone actually posted an interactive app which helps to choose brackets, and you can kind of go through, and then it will customize the entire bracket for you. Okay, so now for the Olympics dashboard. This Olympics dashboard, it has the sunburst on it, and has some pretty exciting components to it. And then this one's courtesy of, I believe, what is it? Viz Ninja. Let's see here. Oh, Michael McQuissick, but Data Wizard. So Data Wizard, these sunbursts are pretty cool. And then what they do is they highlight all the medals that were received by each country at a given Olympics. But the component that you are missing here is the drill down for who won those gold medals at the individual Olympics. So maybe what I want to do is do tooltip and a tooltip dashboard, and then I want to see the 5 bronze medal summary, but then I also want to see who won those individual medals and do a summary in that way. So there are some ways that you can accomplish that, and then again, we're using Kaggle to pull that information. So this one's Kaggle Olympic Winter Sports, and I'll post that link in the chat as well. So this is for the Winter Olympics, and you can see this will give us the year of the Olympics, the city, the sport, discipline, the country, and then even the medal type. So that's where you can look at the different data sources that are available to you that are disparate at this point and work on combining those two. And for the dashboard on that one, you can circle back around here, and you can see within that data source here. Here's what we were trying to add from Kaggle. And then here's what already existed. So we do actually have the country already existing and the medal type, and then the year of the Olympics. So now we have a key that's available for us to combine on. And then from there, this was actually pretty cool. There were even some insights here that Emil and I were talking about as we were developing this. So you can see how many medals were given out in a given year, and which makes such a simple dashboard, right? And then you can even see sports were there a significant amount of medals.
Mm.
So ice hockey, tons of medals, right? And then skeleton, there's only 50 of those. So you can tell which sports maybe have been around for a while, and then which ones maybe just have a lot of team members on the sports that are being given medals. And then obviously there's a question, men versus women, right? How many medals in each? And then there's your feedback right there. So what we did in this instance is we were fortunate that Kaggle already had the other components established with their dictionary. So we took their codes for the geographical area and combined it with the county. And then you can see some population and GDP information here. And then what we would want to do here is actually look at some of the geographical factors, right? So if you have the data package, literally you can just pipe these in using some of the data package tool set. So you can use your address tool set if you want, and then pull that information in. And then I do know in the newer versions, you can also add in the census level information if you want, if you download that additional pack as well. So that would only be for the U.S. So if you were looking for what state generates more Olympic athletes and you wanted some information, maybe the GDP per capita for the state, maybe you feel that that's a contributing factor that could be addressed in one of your predictive models, then you could utilize that. If you're a Olympic trainer or looking to become one, that would be an excellent way of creating that. And then I guess I can reach out to everyone now. What other insights do you guys have that you'd be looking for, that you encounter for cleansing data? I want to go through a couple of examples for you guys individually, which will help you in your journey with the data.
Yeah, any questions?
Yeah, Cherie, do you have any questions surrounding this, or Adriana? Vanessa, is there something that you see regularly with clients where they're struggling combining different disparate data sources in relation to some of the joins?
Yeah, I feel like I always run into that with clients, so this is actually really helpful.
Yeah, and most of these are fairly simple, which is why I wanted to go through, especially now that we have some tool upgrades here. So let's say, for instance, I only want to see what athletes from the U.S., where are they getting all their medals from, right? So we have country, which is selected here. And then I believe they have it listed as United States. So we can pipe that in here. And let's take a look at the sports. So the examples that we have in here: ice hockey, skating, skiing, and then bobsledding. And then if we want, let's go a little bit further out, right? Are we crushing it in the speed skating with Apollo Antonono, or is it the hockey team, or maybe the bobsledding team, or the skeleton crew bringing it home? So you can kind of dissect from there, even within these tool sets as well. All right, guys. So that's the portion that I had for this segment. the last 30 minutes, we're going to do our usual cutaway to bring your workflow. So if you guys have any workflows that you're interested in taking a look at, we can address those now. And then we do have the final recap, of course, if you're looking to hang out with us in person and do some networking. We'd love to see you guys at the next meeting, which is April 19th from 4:30 to 7:30. And that's going to be open bar appetizers. And then if you do RSVP via the link that we sent out, then you will actually receive a free growler when you get there. Mm-hmm. And then we do have those questions and stuff posted as well for you. And let me go ahead and give you guys that link again one more time. And then does anybody have any workflows that they want to work through?
Yep. Any workflow, any questions, something that you're trying and it's not working, or if you are looking to do something with Alteryx that you're like, hey, can this be done? I mean, I do that all the time, you know. I ask Andrew, like, hey, can this even be done? So
arranging my many pages here on my screen.
And then for many of you who don't know, Mark is actually one of the fellow ACEs, and if he hasn't answered a question for you already on the community, shame on you for not asking enough of them. I'm pretty sure he's answered at least a dozen or so of mine.
Well, hello everyone, and thank you for inviting me to Florida, at least virtually. A couple of macros that I've put out, and they're actually on the Alteryx gallery right now. One of them is to delete empty fields. I've seen the post several times on the community. If you've ever brought in an Excel workbook where somebody clicked on, say, column AA1, and now you've got all this blank data that comes in as part of an input, what this macro will allow you to do is it will basically look through any fields that you tell it to look through, which could be all, and will allow you to just delete any columns that are entirely null. It also gives you the opportunity to look at the value and determine if spaces or blanks count as being empty as well. So you might not want to do that based on the presence of a space, but if everything was empty, then you would want to get rid of the columns of data. The other macro, and I can open up these macros and show them to you running. If you've taken the Udacity course, or if you just happen to know what an outlier is, when you're looking at the population by age or by income or by the amount of a car or things of that nature, sometimes the data, when you're looking at it, is interesting because it's so different from everything else. But you don't want to hard code that value. So if the number is greater than 50, that I want to be able to look at that data. Well, what the crew modify outliers macro will do is it will analyze the data and it will identify outliers by one of roughly two methods, and it will then allow you to either isolate those outliers, delete the outliers, or it will apply limits, floors, or ceilings to it that based on your data, you could say, well, if the age is greater than 50, just make it 50. Well, it will actually use either standard deviations or this other method, which is IQR, interquartile ranges. and it will establish that limit for you. So if you're looking to model data and you have presence of data values that are null or empty, and you want to be able to apply a number, or the numbers are out of range, you could use this modify outliers macro to establish those values.
Mark, that's actually awesome. So I've been working on that as far as a data quality concern that I've seen at many companies. What I notice is, let's say, for instance, I'm running the workflow and I'm ingesting the data in this workflow schedule. I may or may not necessarily know what that data is supposed to look like, and if it has a significant alteration, I would like to be notified. That way, at least I know whether or not I need to be concerned before it gets to the end client. And I mean, this macro could definitely work in that case. So I appreciate, again, you doing everything that you do for the community.
Yeah, I've got so many versions of it out there right now. I'm afraid to go and do an example. Oh, actually, no, that's probably going to work. Just 1 second. So here's the macro itself. I'm going to download. I can download it this way because I'm the one who put it up there. So the macro itself is going to allow me to find that odd data. So I'm going to insert a macro. And I don't have a data set that is just ready to go with that. So I'm going to make something up while we're here. I'll just put age. And I could put income here.
Hey, Mark, are you sharing your screen?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was actually talking through this, and I thought that I was sharing my screen the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay. Just really quickly.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we can see it now.
Okay. So out on the gallery, there's crew delete empty fields, and there's also the crew modify outliers. And so what I'm doing here is I'm just plugging in income, which we'll say are in the thousands, and age. And what this will do is it will allow me to say, I want to look at age and income, and I'm going to keep the outliers in the data for right now. And I'm just going to put on my 3 browsers here and hit run. And what it will do first is for age, it will tell you the number of outlier records that it found by this method, the IQR method, by 1 standard deviation and by 2 standard deviations. And income, it found 1 outlier. I can switch over to the data itself, and it will allow you, if you're the statistician, if you want to actually see age, what are the important numbers out of that, where the median is 24, and the first quartile range is 22.75, the third quartile is 25.25, the IQR is 2.5, and so the upper and lower fences by this interquartile range are 19 and 29. Anything less than 19, anything more than 29 is an outlier based on this data. And otherwise, it'll tell you that the mean, the average, is 27, and what standard standard deviation is on that. So the upper limit for one standard deviation would be age 37 and age 47 for the upper limit too. So all of the calculations, if you want to know how am I calculating these outliers, are provided in this table. And then the data itself will, in this case, just let me know is the data an outlier or not based on the different methodologies. And if I wanted to, with the data, instead of keeping the outliers, I could remove the outliers. And so now you'll have 8 records. That's why it's in beta. I think I pulled down the wrong version. It didn't drop the outlier records. So I'll need to work on that. And updating the values by interquartile range, as an example, it will then, for the data, show the new age and the new income, and it'll show you, here's an example where it modified the income. And you can either do that by the interquartile range or by 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations, or just setting it to the mean. Yeah. So I tried to pack a lot of functionality into this, but the main driver was I was taking the Udacity course, and I couldn't believe that they were giving instruction to the students to do this work in Excel. So I thought I'd make something up that would be easy for Alteryx users to consume.
Yeah, I think that looking at this, where I use it quickly is survey data. So if I had survey data, I want to see quickly, some stats for my age and income. I can pick that, and I can see really quick from my survey data what's going on and what it's important. So, I mean, for survey data, will work great.
So if you wouldn't mind, check this out on the gallery, and if you should find any bugs in it, let me know. Like the one I think I just saw, and I'll be happy to go and fix those. And then somewhere around Inspire, I hope to be releasing these to the general population.
Cool.
What's up?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Switching audio there. Thank you, Mark, so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. These tools are going to be amazing. I know there's actually a couple people on my team that have asked me about white spaces, and then I'm even working on a macro for them to switch the XLS file type to the SLSX. That way, if you're having trouble opening it, it can adjust those.
Oh, I've got a macro out there for that.
You do?
Yeah, there is one.
Oh my goodness!
Show that one. I mean, just get it back and.
I will. Let me find it first. And
okay.
Then, yeah, there was a problem with the Microsoft Jet driver.
Yeah.
And I'll sign into my private studio, and I'll probably find it quickly that way. There's screen. Date won't change. I'm on another screen right now. Oh, I didn't. No, I know that I did. I put it out there because it was part of. I will. Unless I deleted it.
I thought I remember seeing it at one point. I don't.
Yeah, I might have deleted it. There was a problem. I didn't want to publicize it. It was only under their... Well, organization is not my strong point. I believe I deleted it, but it does require use of a run command, because there's a function that's on everybody's workstation. It comes with with Microsoft, and it's a program that will convert an XLS to an XLSX file. So what the macro did was it just asked you which file do you want to convert, and then it would create the batch command to run to convert it from the XLS to the XLSX file format.
Yeah.
And once they changed the driver, I might have eliminated that from... So, I apologize. I did create it at one time, but it's not in my gallery.
No, I appreciate the sharing. Do you know when the next ACA Crew Macros is going to be coming out? Are you shooting for the...
I don't have a release date. We are going to have at some point an announcement about the Crew Macros, and it will appear at least probably first on chaosreignswithin.com, and then after that it may appear in the community. If people that are on the line or in the room don't mind answering the question, I've suggested, well, first of all, is there anyone on the line that is currently using Crew Macros?
So I do know our entire team is.
Okay. In Universal, we are, because I'm pretty sure that Steven is doing some. Yeah.
Well, what I'm suggesting to Alteryx is, instead of Crew Macros being where you go to chaosreignswithin.com and you do a download of them, I was thinking about asking for a district in the gallery, and the district in the gallery already has a macro district, but to create a Crew macro district. And so only Crew macros would appear in that macro district, and then you could download individual Crew macros that you wanted, or we could easily update macros, and those updated macro versions would be available without release of whole macro packs. So what type of feedback does the room think about that?
They're normally a pretty quiet bunch. Just as a heads up. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. If actually what I can do is if you're interested and okay with it, I can put that up on the ideas section.
Okay.
And then I can make sure that my team stars it, because I know that we use them extensively. And initially there were questions around, because it is healthcare and the security, going to a third-party site and pulling those. I think that would only just solidify further the quality and the reliability of the crew macros.
Right. And the crew macros are not part of Alteryx. They just happen to be some very popular macros. And so I just don't want people to think that because they're on an Alteryx website, they're actually Alteryx-sponsored macros. But I think that it would make our jobs easier if we were able to just release macros that way. And I agree with you that giving people free rein to go and pull macros down off of any website is not quite the enterprise solution that I think people are looking for when they're using Alteryx today.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and post that. So right now I'm posting the Brew and Bites. If you guys are interested in signing up for that, let me just add the link.
Yep.
Just a second here. I can send that all to you guys if you haven't signed up already. And then any other quick announcements? Thank you everyone for joining us. And then if you want to stay tuned for just a couple seconds, I'm adding the hyperlink for signing up for the Bites, and then this one will be on the Alteryx user page. And then thank you, Mark, of course, for sharing that. I'm really excited to see some of these macros here.
They're pretty awesome, yeah.
And you're all invited to Detroit for our next user group meeting on April 12th.
April 12th?
Yeah. You can all fly first class there. I'm not going to stop you.
You get record that, or no recording or anything like that?
You can record it. I'll say it again. You can all fly first class to Detroit. I'm not going to stop you.